Over the last couple of years, extraction shooters have been on the rise, and as a genre, people seem to be paying more and more attention to them. Last night, Sharkmob Games, the team behind the Bloodrun Battle Royale game, and housing several of the original developers of The Division, revealed their new extraction shooter, called Exoborne. They sponsored this video, so big shout out to them. I've got a bunch of gameplay details directly from the team at Sharkmob about Exoborne that I'm now allowed to share. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to learn about one of the new extraction shooters coming out soon, then keep watching. Exoborne is an open-world extraction shooter. It's a brand new IP, and it's developed by a 400-strong development team at Sharkmob Games. The game takes place after a huge climate disaster sweeps across the globe, one that humans tried to stop themselves by constructing these huge atmospheric monoliths. They're called Stratos Towers. And don't worry, these towers certainly aren't the open-world style points that you climb up to in other games to reveal more of the map. You're safe from those gameplay mechanics here. There is a lot of verticality on the maps in this game, something Sharkmob is known for, and they wanted to put that to test here too. Exoborne takes this whole world and it puts you and your teammates into it. You're known as Reborn. You're survivors of this huge climate crisis and all the damage that has happened. You spawn into one of the many maps, each having different biomes, and your mission is to scavenge, fight, craft, and then extract. Each match is filled with other real player teams who have their own missions and objectives to complete as well, and the gameplay choices that you make along the way will impact how each match plays out. Now, with those other real players in each match that you play, that means Exoborne is a PvP extraction shooter. And I have it directly from the developers. Here's a quote: "The game will always be PvP enabled. Each game will feature PvE elements as well, is intended to be accessible and easy to get into, but hard to master. The game will have co-op missions and public events that can be played solo or in a team of up to 3. End quote. Exoborne is being built to be a high-stakes game, so if you die, you're going to lose everything that you collected during that round, and your loadout that you spawned in with as well. You lose everything. To secure everything that you loot, you have to extract from the match. If you want the best gear, the most powerful weapons, mods, and all those kinds of things, you need to go to the locations on the map that are the most protected. And of course, it's not just going to be you that's going to those areas. Other players are going to go there too, so you will end up fighting it out. At its core, Exoborne is a PvP game with PvE elements that are there to support the PvP. So that's your first major point. Exoborne has been built primarily as a PvP extraction shooter that incorporates PvP elements. So certainly similar to other extraction modes that you might have played. There's a big emphasis on environment and elements in Exoborne, however. The whole world that you're fighting in has been completely transformed by these big atmospheric disasters, and the developers wanted to integrate that directly into the gameplay. So in the CGI trailer in the background, you see this big storm going on. Well, the wind from that storm, that can be used in gameplay for traversal, so you can get from one place to another. It's not going to be something that everyone can use, but if your team is in the right place at the right time, you could see yourself flying across the map to a completely different location. You might even be able to use it to get out of a bad gunfight or a difficult situation so you can reposition. Now, let's talk a little bit about gear, a big part of an extraction shooter. In Exoborne, quote, "You are what you carry," end quote, say the developers. There's no hidden RPG mechanics, abilities, or skills. There's no hidden stats that you level up so that you do more damage. It's just you, your exo rig, your loot, and your loadout weapons that you're holding onto. That's going to dictate how you play and what you can do in each match. So if you want to do more damage, you need to go and find a better weapon, loot it, extract it, and then you can bring it in next time. Or maybe the weapon that you already have is one that suits your playstyle and you like, but you need more mods and attachments to make it better. We're getting a little bit of an insight here into the looting mechanics and weaponry. Different mods are going to affect the weapon in different ways, like damage, handling, recoil, all things like that. There wasn't much detail to this part of the conversation that I had with the developers. I think they're probably still working on a lot of this stuff, but that's what they're going for here. You'll also be able to find and loot schematics in Exoborne, which allows you to craft a better weapon. We should talk about the Exo Rig though. According to the developers, this item will define your playstyle within each match. It has different slots within it that can be filled with abilities to help you play the way that you want to play. Now, I did get a very brief look at some pre-alpha gameplay of Exoborne on this call that I had with the developers, and one ability that I saw that was very clear and obvious was kind of like this high jump or a boost jump, and it can get you up over a piece of terrain that's blocking your path. It's not throwing you 300 meters in the air, it's just sort of giving you a boost over some cover that you otherwise couldn't have got over. Now, you can create and equip different exo rigs depending on what kind of game you intend to have. You do all of that in the menus before you start. So let's say you want to go in solo, you could take a different exo rig compared to the one that you play when you're with your friends in a trio. And it might be something that allows you to take more incoming damage from enemies. It allows you to scout around a little bit more, highlight incoming enemies before they see you. It sounds like the exo rigs are going to be a fairly big part of the gameplay loop in Exoborne, along with the weapons that you bring in and how you upgrade those over time. There's a real metagame here. Now, alongside all of the team play and the PvP, of course, there is other stuff to do during each round of Exoborne. There will be missions for you to take on and complete. There will be dynamic public events happening during a match that you can take part in, both PvP and PvE, that will drop interesting rewards. And the biggest element of them all is scavenging for the best loot and securing it by extracting. The missions will not only help you progress in the game, rewarding you with new items, but it will also progress the narrative that's built into the game as well. Exoborne does have this running through it, and just like other extraction shooters, these missions are going to help you uncover story elements and build up the lore of the world and things happening in it. Outside of the game, in the menus, that's where you're going to do all of your weapon upgrading, all your crafting, all your exo rig modifications, and more on the home screen. Now, the developers felt that this was the best choice for gameplay. That way you won't get caught out doing all of that busy work in-game, and instead you can be more deliberate with your choices. There's no external pressure of having to craft something whilst an enemy team is pushing you, for example. And this is also the location where you will select your missions from different characters in the game before you start matchmaking and get into a match with your friends. One really important element that I should mention is that Exoborne is going to be a hybrid between first and third person viewpoints. So when you're traversing around the map with your friends or just moving up to the next mission, you're going to be in third person view. But as soon as you aim down your sights with your weapon, you're going to snap into first person. I'm a really big fan of this, and having watched some of the alpha gameplay last week, it looks really, really nice. According to the developers, many who worked on third-person shooters in the past wanted to have a greater connection and feeling with the weapons in this game, which is why all the shooting is happening in first person. The third-person aspect, when moving around the map, that fits more into like the open world feeling, I think, and it will likely immerse you a little bit more into the world that's been built by Sharkmob. And the time to kill, we should talk about this, the TTK in the game, is fairly short. So when you get into PvP fights, you can expect things to go down similarly to other shooters on the market. The gunfights won't last too long. They won't be these big, high health brawls where it takes 500 bullets to down someone. And that's a relief to me because there's nothing worse than being in that situation, positioning really well and attacking at the right time, only to have someone shoot back at you with higher damage than what you've got, but it took them 35 more bullets and it's just a big slugfest. It doesn't feel that great. So the fact that we've got this short, snappy TTK, I think is really good. It's the way forward, and I'm glad the developers have gone and done this. Speaking about other parts of the game, though, the developers mentioned that out of combat, the pacing of the game is quite a bit slower. So there's going to be distinction between that PvP, things pick up and become a little bit more fast-paced, but then when you're just moving around doing your missions or maybe sort of scouting out the next team that you want to kill, that's going to be a little bit slower. So there's a distinction there. At its heart, Exoborne is an open world. It's a non-linear extraction shooter, so you get to decide what you want to do. What kind of builds do you want on your weapons? What schematics do you want to craft? What different passive and active abilities do you want on your exo rig? It's all about what you want to achieve each match. You can gear up, set a plan, try and execute it. Maybe things go wrong during the match and you're like, let's go and extract now before we lose all the gear we've already got. Or you're in a really powerful position and there's only a couple of teams left and you're like, no, we can get them and then we can do the extract at the end and we can get out there. It's all about your choices and what you want to do. According to the developers, though, they always want that threat there. Other players in your match with you, they could ruin everything that you've done during that match. It's the risk and reward. Things might get in your way. Each match is going to be a bit of a mix-up. If you die, you lose everything. If you successfully exfil, you push yourself forward. The The developers have asked me to share their Discord server so that you can join that if you're interested in Exoborne. That's linked at the top of the description for you. And I've also put their Twitter account there that you can follow along for new information about the game. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon.